Yo, what is going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Series 12 video, and it is the first of the month. This is now month of May, and you know what that means on the channel. It's rental code day. Yes, that means the entire ladder has reset. Everyone who was in Master Ball is now back down to Great Ball, so now begins the climb back into Master Ball yet again. And to do that, we've got 5 more rental teams to bust out. So if you like our rental codes and if you like our rental teams, let me know which one you try out. Leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. But without further ado, let's just go into the first rental of the video. Alright, so there's our first rental. It is Xerneas and Palkia. So I always like this duo together technically just because they have a lot of the same supporting cast. So with Xerneas, again, you know, really much appreciates Intimidate support and Redirection just because of Zacian's running around. So this is why you have the Amoonguss and the Indeedee together. And again, with the Indeedee, you know, Psychic Seeds to give it that special defense boost. So really good against special attackers, especially like when you're going against the Kyogre matchup. But Xerneas is not always bringable into certain matchups, so you need some other Dynamax options. That's where the Palkia comes in. So Palkia Amoonguss is always a thing, you know, where you can set up Trick Room and then start abusing it with Spores. Dynamax to Palkia deal a lot of damage. And then potentially go for an endgame with either the Xerneas or Landorus or Incineroar. Speaking of Landorus, Landorus is on this team. Landorus is a physical mon that we're going to Dynamax, especially in the Sun matchup, just because, you know, Charizard doesn't like it, Venusaur doesn't like it, Groudon doesn't like being Intimidated. Same thing with Zacian. And then with the Lumberry, because Venusaur is starting to rise yet again, we don't want to deal with Sleep Powder shenanigans or potentially Calyrex, Shadow Rider, Will-O-Wisp stuff. So if we have the Lumberry, you know, we can at least guarantee one turn where we don't get any status inflictions. But yeah, another good, strong physical Dynamax option to have on the team with Landorus. You know, and Amoonguss, the Seed Bomb tech is just for the Gastrodon matchup and sometimes Kyogre, just because Kyogre has a much stronger special defense than physical defense, so Seed Bomb is going to do more damage. And Gastrodon, sometimes players play for the end game with, you know, Dynamax Gastrodon, so you want to get rid of that option by going for Seed Bomb, a physical move. And then Incineroar is just relatively standard with the Shuka Berry, just for like Landorus, Max Quakes, or even Groudon Precipice Blades, or Groudon Max Quake as well. So now let's just go ahead and look at the Pokepaste and see what we were calcing for. Alright, so here's the Pokepaste of our Xerneas Palkia squad. And again with the Xerneas, so a couple of things with the HP and defensive bulk. So it's just meant to survive Zacian Behemoth Blade after an Intimidate, which I think is always important because you want to be able to at least live that. So this way you can go for that Geomancy and then potentially smash or pick up a KO with that +2 Moonblast or the +2 Dazzling Gleam, assuming the Zacian has been chipped. The speed is at 140, so this is meant to outspeed those Regieleki speed creepers after +2 with the Geomancy. And especially Regieleki, just in general, just being able to outspeed is important. Palkia's spread, again, the HP is just optimized for Life Orb chip. You hit the bump with the Modest Nature 156 special attack investment, and then just a little bit of speed, not too much. You know, you don't really need speed because we're running Trick Room Palkia. And I did forget to mention that Flamethrower is just for that Ferrothorn matchup, just because Ferrothorn, especially if it's Dynamax, can pose a bit of a problem for this team. So if you run Flamethrower Palkia, it's very good. And Flamethrower is also pretty good against like opposing Calyrex Ice Rider team, so it's pretty much welcomed here. Indeedee spread with the Bold Nature, that's just meant to survive Zacian Behemoth Blade. Again, as always, Incineroar with that speed. So now we're hitting 95 speed. This is our old Incineroar spread that we used a little bit earlier in the format, but I always like a faster Incineroar speed in a Trick Room matchup, and especially with Xerneas, just because I want the faster fake out against an opposing Incineroar, so that way I can set up my Geomancy safely or set up my Trick Room safely, and then in Trick Room my Parting Shot goes last, right? And the reason why that's good is because one thing is if they go for their Parting Shot and bring in something in, my Parting Shot goes next, so whatever they brought in gets Parting Shotted. So now whatever their new stuff is now -1, and also I have a faster Throat Chop, so this way I can stop opposing Incineroars for swapping out with their own Parting Shot because we stop a sound-based move. The Amoonguss here is just optimized again with the Relax Nature boost, you know, HP for 219, a stat. Then, you know, just Regenerate just gives you a nice whole number when you're getting that HP recovery. You hit the bump and then the rest is just leftover bulk. in the defense mark. And then Landers, same idea. You know, max speed Jolly is what you need, so this way you can like speed tie other Landerses at the very least. And then a little bit of HP bulk just to get that 175 mark, just to optimize Hailstorm chip damage if necessary. And then the rest just gets dumped into attack. All right, so nothing too crazy here with our Landers spread, relatively standard here. So now you know what they do. So let's move on to the next paste. The next rental. Up next, and this is the fun one. This is the Dragapult Groudon Zacian one that we made, and I chickened out a little bit. Originally, if you watched the team building video, we had Prankster Leer Thunderous just for more shenanigans for Dragapult and Groudon and Zacian, but in the end, I decided to stick with the Grimmsnarl just for a little bit better of a Trick Room matchup, just because the screens help a lot. Alright, but again, the main idea with this combo is, you know, you go for Surf on your Dragapult and you're a Ghost type, you can't be faked out, and then you can proc the policy on Groudon, and then now you're going for +2 Precipice Blades or +2 Rock Slides. You also have Swords Dance here, just for like, you know, counter Incineroar and Landorus Intimidate stuff, especially against like Trick Room stuff. You can stall that out like turn 1 and go for Swords Dance and make them scared, because now you don't kill their Redirector, and now they're standing in the face of a +2 Groudon. Could potentially be +4 if the Dragapult goes for Surf turn 1. We already know what Grimmsnarl stuff does. Scary Face is good for Groudon, especially in Trick Room, just because you can make your Groudon slower, and then you outspeed their Trick Room Sweeper. Incineroar is relatively standard with the Shuka Berry. And welcome back Venusaur. Now Venusaur is back on those Sun teams just because Sleep Powder is annoying, and again, max Grass with the chip damage over time is really good, especially against that Gastrodon or even that Kyogre. And then Zacian, you already know what Zacian does, right? So now let's just go ahead and take a look at our Pokepaste and see what spreads we were doing. Okay, so here's our spreads. So basically with the Dragapult, you just want 252, 252 with the Sash. Nothing really too crazy there. The Zacian is meant to outspeed Regieleki after you get a +1, or if the Regieleki is -1. The Venusaur, again, you hit the bump with the Modest Nature, and the HP is meant to optimize the Life Orb chip damage. And then the rest you just want to be a fast Venusaur. I opted to go for a certain speed tier where I outspeed base 100s after they're +1. So if a Charizard goes for Airstream or Zapdos goes for Airstream, if I'm in the sun, I still outspeed that threat. So this way I can click Sleep Powder and still be able to go first. Alright, Grimmsnarl spread, I know you can't see it, but it is 12 speed. Now the main thing here with the Grimmsnarl is with Intimidate and Reflect, you can survive the Zacian Behemoth Blade. And then our Incineroar, we're back to using our slower Incineroar spread. We're not really setting anything up here. We just want to be super bulky at the end of the day. So we went back to a little bit more bulkier on the special defense side. You can live the Charizard max Airstream when it's Gigantamax with the Life Orb. So relatively nice live with the Incineroar spread. And the Groudon, 113 just to outspeed those 112 Groudons. And then the rest just goes into your bulk, and you hit the first bump in the attack nature. You don't really need the second bump, just because you have the weakness policy. You're going to get all the damage there when you proc it. So I figured just go for bulk on the Groudon, and that's exactly what we did. Alright, so that's our spread. So let's move on into the third rental. Third rental is Zamazenta Zygarde. This one's out of left field. I don't think anybody expected this out of me at this point in this meta. But actually, this is the same team that we made in our team building video back in February. And I noticed that when I looked at that video, the views were skyrocketing for that team building video, and I guess more and more people got interested in Zygarde Zamazenta for some apparent reason. So I figured let's just make it a rental in May and give it a go. The one thing we did change was the Tapu Fini a little bit. We changed up some of the EVs and the spreads, but for the most part, you know, the rest is the same. You already know what Zygarde can do. Obviously, the goal is to set up coils, potentially even set up Substitute, especially when Trick Room goes up. And then Substitute blocks Incineroar and Landorus spam with their Intimidate. Zamazenta, we gave up the close combat, believe it or not, taking a page out of Will Tank's book. So we went with Wide Guard here just to help out against, you know, Kyogres, Calyrexes, the other Calyrex, anything that Groudons, anything that goes for those annoying spread moves. Wide Guard really helps a lot. And then you play the mind games a little bit when you click Wide Guard, and then sometimes it forces the opponent to misplay a little bit just because they don't know if you're going to click it again or not. Thundurus is actually the main Dynamax option here, especially with the Life Orb. So what you can do is lead Zamazenta Thundurus, and with our spread, we can outspeed Thundurus by 1. So this way our coaching goes first, and then our Thundurus is now Dynamax with +1/+1 in that regard. Same thing with Zygarde's Thundurus lead. That's another good one that you can do. If it's Trick Room, you know, you can set stuff up with Grimmsnarl and stall it out, and then, you know, just lead Zygarde, go for coils until the Trick Room expires. Tapu Fini is the main support here, so this way you reduce dragon damage incoming to Zygarde, and then you can heal it with Heal Pulse and deal big damage with Nature's Madness, but still have one main attack with Moonblast. So that's the main support. Tapu Fini and Zygarde were always used together in previous formats and previous Pokemon generations, so we're bringing it back here. And then, you know, Incineroar just does Incineroar stuff. So let's go into the pace and see how our EV spreads look. Okay, so like I said, our Zamazenta here, it's actually meant to outspeed other Zacians that want to outspeed Alecki after +1. So I went for that kind of speed tier, which I think is kind of funny when you think about it. But mainly you're just a supportive Zamazenta. So originally in the team building video, I had it as Adamant with a fair amount of that attack, but it's not really Zamazenta's role here. We're really meant to enable the big Dynamax options with Zygarde and Thundurus here, right? But what's also cool with coaching is Incineroar and Grimmsnarl benefit from it too. So sometimes you can be going for those +1 Spirit Breaks and +1 Flare Blitzes or Throat Chops, and they start dealing a lot of damage over time. And again, with our Thundurus, just max speed Jolly with a little bit of Life Orb optimization in the HP, and then the rest just gets dumped into attack and 1 point in defense and special defense. Same Grimmsnarl spread as always. Tapu Fini, we made it pretty much a bulky Fini. We went with Calm Nature here, just hitting the first bump in the special defense, and then the rest just gets dumped into HP and defense while still optimizing for leftovers recovery. We don't really need speed on Fini, we just need it to be bulky, stay on the field, click Nature's Madness everywhere, click Heal Pulse, heal my Zygarde, especially after we get Zygarde complete. Alright, that's the main thing there. And then with Zygarde itself, really you just want like the bump in the Adamant nature, and we really need all that attack because Zygarde's attack is not that amazing, just 100 base, so anything is very much welcome. 207 HP stat, you know, just to optimize those that max hailstorm damage, and then the rest just gets dumped into leftover bulk. Our speed is just meant to outspeed like Thundurus stuff, so pretty much relatively standard Zygarde set here. So now moving on into the next rental. Alright, with the 4th rental of the month of May, we're going with Dialga and Groudon here, and we got the Duck. It's back on our squad, so I really like this combination. That last time we tried Dialga Kyogre, and that worked out very well. Now we're trying Dialga Groudon, but it really needs Trick Room support, and we have Trick Room here with the Porygon and even the Dialga. But what's also cool is this Grimmsnarl set that we have here, the utility Grimmsnarl. I always joke that back in Series 8, I had like 12 Grimmsnarl sets, and this is one of them. This is the fake tier set. So basically, because you have Charizard on this team with Solar Beam, Blast Burn, and Hurricane with the Lumberry, might I add, the Zard doesn't do as much damage as without the Life Orb, but we can surprise the opponent by going for fake tiers. And then the Zard starts doing big damage, and you don't even need the Groudon. You can even keep it in the back and have it healthy for the late game. You can also do Dialga Grimmsnarl, go for fake tiers that way. Really nice. And then Scary Face is also really nice for outspeeding certain threats, especially, you know, when you're in the mirror matchup. You know, if it's Charizard and Charizard, you can go first, Airstream first, and then you're kind of just chilling. Or you can even do the Porygon route and Eerie Impulse any special attackers, because our Porygon is meant to outspeed those mons after Scary Face. And we are a modest P2, might I add, just for a little bit more extra damage, especially with the Scary Face. And pretty soon, you know, opponents will be wondering, why is this P2 doing so much damage? That's because it's modest, and then we also have fake tier support. The Ice Beam here is mainly for the Landorus matchup, just because a lot of this team doesn't like dealing with Landorus. Charizard definitely doesn't like Landorus. Neither does Incineroar, Dialga, or even Groudon. So we need something to deal with Lando, and I just felt Ice Beam on Porygon was correct here. Now, originally it was like a foul play set, but I think we're fine in terms of the Calyrex matchup. Again, we have Sucker Punch on the Grimmsnarl now, and we have a Dark Move on the Incineroar, which is pretty much good. And then we can break Sash if we go with the Charizard G-Max Wildfire stuff. So we break stats that way anyway, and then we just pin the Calyrex with Sucker Punch and knock it out. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the spreads. Alright, so here's our spreads here. So again, the Dialga and Groudon, they almost speed tie, but there's a 1 speed difference, so this way they don't speed tie. But mainly the Dialga is optimized, you know, just for that Life Orb HP chip damage. Basically almost all of it went into special attack, a little bit of speed, and then leftover just went into special defense and defense bulk. Really nothing crazy. Same thing with the Groudon, just again super slow, but at least separate from the Dialga by 1 speed. Just so that you don't speed time. And again, you know, you're hitting the second bump in the attack stat this time. This is not our weakness policy set. This is our adamant, bulkier, not as bulky natured set. But again, 156 is the bump. And then for the Zard, same idea. We're optimizing the solar power over time chip with the HP investment. And then the rest just goes into special attack. And then, of course, you always want max speed on your Zard. This is the same Incineroar that we've used the last couple of teams. It's our bulky Incineroar set. Same thing with the Grimmsnarl, same spread, just with the Babiri Berry and our utility set with like Fake Tears, Scary Face, and of course a couple moves for attacking like Spirit Break and Sucker Punch. The Spirit Break is really good against Palkia and Yveltal, so very much appreciated with the Fairy coverage. And there's our modest P2 set. Again, first bump in the special attack, you don't really need so much special attack. You know, you have the Fake Tear support. Just the job of Porygon is just really set up Trick Room, Eerie Impulse special attackers, and still deal big damage with Ice Beam if you need to. I felt like it was good with the Grimmsnarl set that we have here, so I felt like modest P2 was in fact the way to go. But again, the idea with the team is to set up Trick Room early with Dialga and maybe even Groudon, deal big damage, and then later in the game, you know, finish things off with either one of the two, and then just support the rest of the way with like Incineroar, and even have an end game with P2 if you need to. Alright, so now let's move into the last rental. Alright, the fifth and last one that we're going to show is probably my favorite one, just because that's why it is last. It's Solgaleo Calyrex, and we know what this combination can do, obviously with the turn 1, lead both of them, Bulldoze with the Calyrex. It's a ghost type, you can't fake it out. Solgaleo gets his weakness policy proc, you Dynamax the Lion, it smashes things. You know, we know what that can do, but there's other things that you have to take into account when you use this team, especially with the Yveltal matchup. So that's why you have the Landorus, the Alecki, and the Finny, and to a degree the Grimmsnarl. So if it's Yveltal, you have to deal with Life Orb, Alecki, and Landorus can deal with that very, very well. If they try to pivot in their Incineroar, well, they're in for a surprise because our Landorus is White Herb. The Alecki can be Dynamax if we need to. You can go for Life Orb, Max Lightnings. You can even go for Max Strike for more speed control. Really, really helpful there. And the Tapu Fini on the squad is low-key the MVP here, just because Solgaleo with your primary Dynamax, you don't want it to get any kind of status inflictions. You don't want it to get burned, paralyzed, or slept. So that's where the Fini can come into play. And the Fini also can become a late game option, because if you can position it next to Solgaleo, you can boost it with max Steel Spikes and max Quakes, and now the Fini all of a sudden is bulky, and then you can afford to go for Calm Mind setups and alternate your Protects, and then now the Fini is dealing a bunch of damage and is relatively bulky thanks to Solgaleo and even the Calm Mind boost. So the Fini can do that. Also really, really good against Palkia and Calyrex Ice Rider. So Fini is low-key a matchup nightmare for Yveltals and even those other teams. And Gastrodon is also kind of useless against this kind of team, just because of the Fini. Grimmsnarl is really good, just to stop those Tailwind shenanigans and just stall it out and resist any kinds of big damage they may be trying to output, and outlast that Dynamax, and then position for a late game max with Solgaleo or even Landorus. Speaking of Landorus, once again, the Landorus is also good into the Sun matchup, just because, you know, with Calyrex, you can deny Charizard the Chardy Berry, and then one-shot it with the Max Rockfall, right? So that's really, really good there. And if they want to pivot their Incineroar to try and stop that, we have the White Herb, so that's always really, really nice. You can even just lead Alecki and Calyrex just from the get-go. They can't really stop Electro Webs and then Astral Barrages if the opponent is unprepared. I'm not talking about Sun matchup, I'm just talking about in general, just giving flexible lead options. You could even do like Alecki Landorus, that's also really, really good. Just overall, a very, very flexible team with the amount of speed control we can have here. You see we have Trick Room on Solgaleo, we got Bulldoze on the Calyrex, we have Airstream on the Landorus, we have Scary Face on the Grimmsnarl. and then Electroweb with Regieleki. Really, really nice. Like at least 5 molds of speed control on this team, which is actually ridiculous. So that's why I really like this a lot. You got Intimidate, you got Screens, Trick Room again on the Solgaleo if we need it for the late game stuff. So really, really good. I think it's my favorite team of the 5 representing. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pace and wrap this up here. So there's our Pokepaste here. So again, with the Calyrex and the Landers, you don't really need anything too crazy, especially with the Calyrex that's Sash. Just 252, 252 is more than enough. With the Solgaleo, you're meant to outspeed not only Zacian, but also Calyrex Shadow Rider after +1, which is why I went Adamant Max Speed here. I think that's important. You don't want to lose to Astro Barrage when it's faster than you, right? You want to outspeed the threat. So that's what that speed is for. And then you hit the bump with the 100 attack in the Adamant nature. And then the rest, you just dump it to HP and Special Defense, which helps against the Calyrex Astro Barrage stuff. Non-life orb. Regieleki, same thing, timid, max speed, and then the rest you just optimize with your HP, a little bit of a bulk, and then just rest and special attack. Nothing too crazy there. The Finny, same thing, third bump in the modest nature with enough speed to outspeed base 100s after a +1 boost or after you go for that -1 boost, and then the rest is just matched up into bulk, especially optimizing your leftovers recovery with the 176 HP mark. Grimmsnarl spread is the same Grimmsnarl spread. That's never changing, not for a very long time, unless someone proves me otherwise that they have a better spread than this. But I like it a lot, so I always use it. But yeah, generally very basic, just managing speed tiers and a couple of damage cogs, but that's really all you need here. So again, hopefully you liked all 5 of our rentals. Let me know which one you try out. And again, if you want to build a team of your own and get it ready for a tournament, and get it ready for regionals, check out our coaching on the channel. If you scroll into the video description, there's a tier 3 sub that you can click join to, where you and I, we sit down in a Discord call, we hash it out with all the EVs, we build the squad from scratch, we test it out a little bit on Showdown, see what works, see what doesn't, do a little damage calcs, especially if you want to live and survive stuff or pick up necessary KOs. We do it all in depth in our one-on-one session, so definitely give it a look. But yeah, let me know which one of these you like and which one you try. We'll be back next time to try out all 5 of these rentals in the next coming video. So until then, peace out.